Ben and Me, Chapter 14, Home. The voyage home was made most pleasant for me by the gracious presence of Sophia and her charming children. Ben, however, was quite downcast. He had gone to the palace of Versailles the day after the great battle had been severely snubbed. The guard, indeed, had been quite rude, making some unpleasant remark about people who shed mice. All his ladies and countesses had also refused to admit him. "But, Ben," I said, "don't you realize that our own country of America is waiting to welcome you back as a hero?" "Do you really think so, Amos?" he asked, brightening up. Will we be heroes?" "Of course we will," I said. "Haven't we raised the money for the whole War of Independence? Why, General Washington himself will probably be at the dock to meet us. There'll be bands and parades." "Maybe you're right, Amos," he said, all cheered up. "Do you think there'll be fireworks?" Our reception was everything that Ben could have hoped for. There were salutes of cannon and firearms. There were delegations from Congress and the message from General Washington. The mayor, the city council, and the First Volunteer Fire Brigade were all present, dressed in their best uniforms. There were floats, addresses, bands, and a parade. Ben, of course, occupied the first carriage, beaming with pride. As usual, he wore the old fur cap, now so ancient and threadbare that there were plenty of peepholes for Sophia and me and all 7 children. They naturally were in a state of the greatest excitement, what with the bands, the crowds, and their first sight of the New World. Sophia retained her usual well-bred dignity, but her pink eyes sparkled with joy at the prospect of rejoining her husband. He was awaiting our arrival at Ben's house, and my first glance assured me that he was a worthy husband and father to his charming family. I left them to their newfound happiness and accompanied Ben to the great banquet that was being given in his honor by the city council. During the long, wordy speeches, I lay in the cap and thought over the events of the last few years. I had done my duty to General Washington. I had contributed no little amount in our victory in the war so recently won. The colonies were free. I had redeemed my promise to Sophia, rescued her children, and reunited her family. Ben was now old enough to keep out of trouble fairly well. At last, I thought, I can relax. Before us lies a peaceful and uneventful old age. Top of page 105. I must be getting old, I thought sleepily as Ben's voice boomed and meandered on, describing his brilliant triumphs in France. I can even stand those dinners. Then I slept. I was perfectly right about getting old. We were old. I found more and more pleasure in staying quietly at home, where I can enjoy the company of Sophia's children. Their father had prospered in the New World. He had established a most comfortable home for his family in a house not far from Ben's, and a delightful household it was. Many of the court customs that they had brought from France, especially their fondness for dancing all night, were considered somewhat frivolous by the more staid Philadelphia mice, but their gaiety and lively ways made them most popular among the younger set. The older people, in turn, soon succumbed the wit and charm of Sophia and her husband. Before long, their home had become one of the most brilliant in the city. My own brothers and sisters had also progressed in the world. Most of the older ones had married and were raising families of their own. Several of them lived in our immediate neighborhood, successful, solid tradesmen. The arrival of these sprightly foreigners brought a new joy and lightness into their rather dull lives, and they became among the most regular attendants at Sophia's social gatherings. The 3 youngest, Xenophon, Isabel, and Zenas, were about the age of Sophia's 3 oldest, were especially charmed with the newcomers, and were always to be seen in their company. It was one of the happiest moments of my life when, at a brilliant triple wedding ceremony, these 6 young hearts became as 3.